that ruled in Samaria, and he was an idolater. He made statues, made idols. So Samaria was a place to where they were looking for a place to where they could set up their idols to worship God. In Micah 6:13-16, it talks about the statues of Omri. And whenever we begin to try to understand the geography or more of the history of Samaria, we find that they were people that were able to go into spiritualism, into worshiping idols or statues. 90% of the island of Haiti is Roman Catholic. The other 10% are made up of Protestants, primarily Pentecostals. The island is 100% voodoo. Voodoo overrides not only there, but all up and down Central and South America. Overrides their stated religion of Roman Catholicism. So how do you separate then the spiritualism, the superstition, from worshiping God? If you've got a mixture of superstition and worship, now superstition comes out of ignorance, out of not knowing. I know that I'm not going to pray to a God made out of stone or wood. I've been in countries to where that you could drive for miles down their major roads, and they had one statue after another of their many different gods, the polytheism, worshiping many gods. They were superstitious in their worship. So she said, we come to this mountain. Our fathers have been coming to this mountain. And we come here to worship. And now Jesus was listening to what she had to say. And he knew all of the history of Samaria. He knew how that Omri had fathered Ahab, and he knew how that Samaria was going to be ruled by Amalek, and they were going to be desolate, Hosea 13:16. All these things were fulfilled in Ezekiel 23:1 and Jeremiah 3:7, talk about the division, the two women that began to give birth to children. And these people were deeply involved in worshiping idols or being superstitious. There's a lot of difference between worshiping in the spirit and being superstitious. The spirit doesn't mean that is superstition. And Jesus, whenever he was discussing it with this woman, on word that ye are to worship, how important it is for us to find a place to worship. Now some of you, God bless your heart, have driven 80 miles, 50, 60 miles to be here in this building. And whenever we come together, we hopefully come because we feel that we're part of one another. We have certain things in commonality or in common that we share with each other. Might not always be thrilled to death with each other, but there are things that we share together that brings us to where that we are a family. And now the how. The where is not the how. Now, whenever Jesus looked at her and she said, you tell us that we're supposed to go to Jerusalem to worship. Why would she point out that She was a Samaritan, wasn't supposed to be talking with him, but we're no longer to worship in Samaria. You tell us we're to go to Jerusalem to worship. Jerusalem is where that King David had a great desire to build a house for God. Whenever the funeral, and anytime we have something, I tell them that is dedicated in there to eating. You go in there and enjoy eating, whatever, and fellowship and all. But you don't come through those doors, because this part here is dedicated to worship. Now, what's the difference between that part of this building and this part? Well, this part was built in 1916. That part was built in 1943. It's all built out of stick, stone, but there is a difference between here and there. Because we have dedicated, consecrated, set apart these doors, these walls, to where that we're coming here to worship. Amen? To worship. Not to have recreation, not to maybe not even enjoy. We're coming here to worship. Let us come together to worship the Lord. Now, the term worship is that we bow down before Him, and that we worship. The term worship in the Hebrew is prokastamil. And it said to kiss like a dog licking his master's hand. Prostrate oneself in homage and do reverence. Now, whenever you look at that and think about a dog licking the master's hand, well, now we have to try to understand their vernacular and their mannerism and their way of life. The woman said, Lord said, don't tell me that you didn't come to give bread to the dogs. Wasn't that one of the conversations that he had? She said, I need something from you. I need healing. And he said, healing is who? For who? The children's bread. But she said, Lord, even the crumbs that fall off of the table. Now, if you haven't been over in that part of the country, they still allow that. Dogs come in and eat the crumbs and stuff off of the floor. The dogs come and eat the crumbs off of the master's table. This woman came with great reverence before the Word that was manifested in human flesh, and she said, you have the bread of the children, and I am willing to lick your hand as a dog and worship you. Now, that's not a demeaning if you put it in the right setting of how that dog is willing to lick the master's hand. I don't like dogs. Never have. Kids always had them. I tolerated them, put up with them. But whenever they come over and lick your hand, you know what I do? You kick them, smack them up. The poor dog just come right back. Now, this is what that Jesus was talking to this Samaritan woman about. It is a worshiping of God. And she said that we have come here, and our fathers and the fathers before us have come here to worship, and we worship with our idols. We worship with our icons. Now, any good Roman Catholic or Greek Orthodox or English will tell you they're not praying to the statue. They're praying for what the statue represents.